Here's a D20, I'm sorry, a D-41 the customer sent to me. He really wanted to see an A-B of this guitar. So I thought I would actually use the opportunity to show you how I evaluate a guitar when it comes in. This guitar came from Guam. That's probably not pronounced right. It's probably Guam. I forgot. I don't know how to pronounce it. The island in the Pacific. And it came from a pawn shop there. So that right away gives me to think, okay, well, been in a very humid area, so I might want to look for a few things in that regards. So the first thing I'm going to do is look over the guitar, from headstock and see what I've got here. So first thing I see, we've got the big heavy Martin tuners on there, and they've got the screws at a little bit of an angle, which means the open back tuners are not going to quite cover the screw holes. They'll come close, I can plug the holes. Oh, by the way, I've got a cold, hard to talk, so I'm kind of congested, but they'll come close to covering that. I'm probably going to recommend to replace the tuners. I like lighter open back tuners, and there's a couple of reasons for that I'll get into later. But so next thing I look at, got a plastic nut on it. Fretwork. I see some funny stuff going on here at the frets. Look at the frets, first 5 frets, and you can see some glue stuff along the edges of the fret. Something's going on there. So I want to see something here. I get my calipers out. Stu Mac digital calipers. These are handy. And I measure these. And I found out that these were about 55 thousandths of an inch high, whereas the frets up the neck were about 34 thousandths, 34 to 33 thousandths of an inch. So I thought, well, what's going on here? So when I look closer, I can see that the frets that had the glue all around them have been replaced. They're just a little bit whiter. And again, I can measure that. They're just a little whiter than these. The crowning is a little different. So someone has replaced the first 5 frets, which is okay. Nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with the first 5 being higher and then dropping down to the next ones. But the problem is here is that 33 thousandths of an inch is just a little too low. I would like to see more like at least 37 thousandths, or my preference would be to use a Jescar 4380 wire, and it would be 43 thousandths of an inch when it's brand new. So that's 10 thousandths of an inch more. That's quite a bit, 30 versus 43. So my recommendation for this guitar is going to be probably 15 new frets using the Jescar 43, and I can go stainless steel. If I did Evo frets at the same height, I'd have to do them all, which is not a big deal. You've only got 6 more frets up here, but it costs a little bit more. So, I'm going to recommend one or the other new frets just to get everything nice and even and consistent. If not, then I'll come in here and clean up this mess, and we can go with the frets. Again, I know what I do is I give my recommendations to the customer and the reason I'm recommending, and then they can decide what they want to do based on what kind of sound they want, how much money they want to spend or can't spend, and whatever. So my recommendations to get this guitar 100% to where, well, I'm personally satisfied with it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give that recommendation. The customer and I can talk about that from there. So I like 15 new frets on there. Then I'm going to get my little yardstick here, and I'm going to measure this. It's just an 80s guitar. It's not a 70s. And I'm going to find out how good the intonation is. So I've got my little yardstick here. It's got a 0 in, and it's got some marks up here at 12 and 7/8. The low E ought to contact right there. So I'm going to put this on the 12th fret, right at the middle of the 12th fret. I got this picture recently, and the guys had it in the middle of the space. And it's like, dude, you got to go to the contact point on the fret and the contact point in here. I don't care what the middle of the space is. So I'm going to go to the middle of the 12th fret, And I'm going to take a look at it down here. It crosses at 12 7/8. So it's off by about a 1/16 of an inch. But that's typical of a Martin. Martin really ought to cock that low E back just a little bit more, and then we get better intonation. It's not that far off that it's going to really cause any problems. The treble is really good. The treble is right on. The bridge is in pretty much the correct location, so that's nice to know. That's out of the picture right now. Looking at the bridge, I see some glue slop back here. And it looks to me like somebody went and shoved some glue in there, so I'm going to see if the bridge is loose or not. I've got a little feeler gauge. It's just a feeler gauge stuck on the 2 pieces of spruce. I got a bunch of them scattered around here. 4/1000 of an inch, and see, I'm getting it in there. I'm pretty sure what we got here, based on the age of this guitar, what it is. This is one of the guitars, one of the years, the many years, where Martin would finish the guitar and then they would cut a smaller than the bridge footprint in the finish. Then they glue the bridge on top of that. So what happens is the guitar bridge is not sitting on wood like it should be. You've got a layer of finish and layer of finish cut out for the bridge, but the wood is down here as to whatever the thickness of the finish is. So say the finish is 6/1000 of an inch thick. The wood is down here, the bridge is sitting on top of it, there's a gap of finish thickness, and you're asking the glue to bridge that gap, to fill that gap. Glue doesn't fill gaps very good, and it really doesn't stick to finish very good at all. So what we've got here is we've got that kind of gap that's due to the finish not being cleaned off. Somebody didn't know that, and they went and shoved glue in there trying to get it back down. That's not going to work. So the best solution for this guitar is to score around the bridge, remove the bridge, clean all that finish out underneath, and then re-glue the bridge down onto the bare wood, and that would give the best contact, the best sound. Owner may not want to do that. I don't know. I'm just recommending this. So I got the frets out of the way. I'm going to check the neck relief because the action is high. So first thing I want to know is what's the neck relief look like. Now it's complicated a little bit by the fact you've got some higher frets up here and some lower frets down here. You're not going to get a true measurement. But just to look at it real quick, I'm going to hold the string at the 1st fret. I'm going to take it down to the 12th fret, and I'm just going to look at that gap right there. And it's not bad. It's about 10/1000 of an inch. That's not bad. I'm not worried about that. After I do the frets and after I get everything done, I'll probably reduce that. I've got this, the Stu Mac notched ruler, and you can put that on here, but the trouble is it's hard for me to measure. You know, it's hard for me to hold all this and measure, but I'm going to look at that, and, you know, there's a pretty good, quite a bit of relief in there, but not enough to dramatically affect the action. Just to be sure, let's adjust it. So here's a truss rod wrench. It's a short truss rod. First thing I'm going to do is loosen it. Make sure it's not stuck. Move it back and forth a little bit. Now, I've got a sandbag right here. I'm going to hold it down with my elbow over here. I'm going to push down on the headstock at the nut, not the headstock. I'm going to push on the nut. I'm going to pre-stress that neck. I can see the strings moving, you see. And then I'm going to reach over here and I'm going to turn that truss rod. We're going to go ahead and take all the relief out for just a second. Well, I'll show you why. Probably enough. Let's see what we got. We might need to go a little bit more. It's not adjusting very fast, so we'll get this one back out. See what we got. Still quite a bit of relief. Let's keep going. Make sure that truss rod wrench seats good. Pre-stress it. The nut is really not even feeling tight to me yet. So. Getting there. That's better. That looks like right around 10,000ths of an inch. Now, the reason I did that, drop the relief down, now I'm going to measure the action and see what I've got. So, first thing, looking at the bridge here, it's got a micarta saddle, which I hate. We're going to get rid of that. But the height is really nice, and I already calipered it a minute ago. I did all this and I forgot to turn the camera on, okay? Or either that or it went off on me. I calipered this, height of the saddle, and it's 145, which is perfect. For a short saddle, that's a perfect saddle height. I also take and measure the height of the string off the face of the guitar with this little ruler. Stick it under here at the low E. The low E is exactly 1/2 an inch off the top of the face of the guitar. So this system here is perfect. The action is too high. So in order to get the action where I want it, I'm going to have to make this system imperfect. I'll have to lower the saddle. I'll have to lower the saddle. Let's see how much I might have to lower it, and then I'll make a decision. So I'm going to get my feeler gauges out, throw some width on this, pop it up on my shoulder like this, and I'm going to measure it. And I'm getting 125 or 115. Easy way to do this, if you can't add very well, and me, I've done feeler gauges so long that I can look at the last number and tell you what the action is. But you can also measure it, you know. So I'm getting 117, which is about right. When I said 115, there's airspace in between the gauges, and so, you know, whatever. 117, okay? So 117, I'd like to see it down at 93,000ths of an inch, and the neck is already as flat as I really want to go. So I'm going to do my calculator out here. 117 minus 93 is 24. And the action has to go down 24,000ths of an inch. That means it's going to have to go twice that at the saddle. So that's 50,000ths, right? Times 2, 48. Let's just call it 50. I already told you the saddle was 145,000ths of an inch. So 145 minus 100 minus 50 is going to be 95,000ths of an inch. It's too low. That's too low of a saddle. I mean, you could do it if you had to, but I don't like it. 90,000ths is too low. Now, 100,000ths of an inch is my personal, nah, too low. So I'm going to recommend a neck reset. Yeah, no big deal. This system here is so nice and perfect, I don't want to mess that up. Saddle height is good. The string height off the top of the guitar is perfect. The neck relief is flat, and the action's too high. So the best solution at this point is to do neck reset and angle the neck backwards, which will lower the action. And then you're good. And then you're good forever, too. If I want to check my findings, it doesn't really matter at this point. I know I have the perfect saddle. I know my action's too high. That's all I really need to know in deciding whether it needs a neck reset. But you can take your yardstick here and you can run it down the fingerboard between the G and the D and see if it touches the bridge here. And yeah, it does. It comes up, it goes bump. It just comes up a little bit, you know. It's marginal for a neck reset. I mean, it's close. You could drop that down. One other possibility is if I'm going to remove the bridge, this looks like a fat bridge here. Martin uses 3 sizes of bridges, and the fat ones can be taken down to the thickness of the smaller ones. So a pre-war Martin bridge is about 320 to 340 thousandths of an inch deep at the low E. I won't take a bridge down any lower than that, but I will shave one down to 320 or 340 if it solves this problem here. Now, let's measure this bridge. Let's see what we got here. I'm going to put my calipers in here, and I'm going to use this. 365. 365. I'd be willing to lower that 25 thousandths of an inch. Okay, I gotta get a piece of paper at this point. So, I'd be willing to take the bridge down 25 thousandths of an inch, which will expose more saddle, which will help me out here. So basically, I could add that 25 thousandths to the height of the saddle. I'd end up with 95 thousandths on the saddle. I already told you that. Plus 25, and that's just still not going to be good enough. 120. That'd leave me with a saddle height of 120, which is okay. The problem, yeah, that'd be okay. The one thing is that the low E is going to get closer to the top by 20 thousandths of an inch, which is not a big deal. It's going to get more than that. It's going to get 40 thousandths of an inch, because that's how much I have to lower. Yeah, 50 thousandths. The low E is going to go 50 thousandths of an inch closer, which should be all right. It'll drop it down a little bit. You don't want to get the low E too close to the top, and it's not necessarily for the torque and everything, but it'll also make your hand feel funny. So like if the strings are too close to the top, you'll end up having to kind of pull your hand out like this when you're playing so you don't touch the top. And that'll cause a lot of tension in your hand. I've been there, done that back when I was first starting. There's a reason that you want the strings, a little bit off the top, and that's so you can get your hand down here and get your hand relaxed and loose when you're playing. I still think the best solution for this guitar is to go ahead and reset the neck a little bit. And I can tell you how much I need to reset it. It's not much. It's going to be about 20 thousandths of an inch at the heel, which is not a big neck reset. The advantage to doing a neck reset at this time is that, first of all, you've left the bridge alone. And that's the stock bridge. It'll be unmodified. We're going to clean the finish out, but that's not a big deal. It'll be unmodified. It'll be a full height bridge. Everything will be a nice height off the top. But the second advantage is that I'll get to go into the dovetail here. And if Martin used paper shims on the dovetail, and they used tight bond type glue, when I redo it, I'm going to use wooden shims. I'm going to get it real nice and tight and snug, and I'm going to use fish glue, which is better. So there's a couple of advantages of me resetting the neck. The other advantage of resetting the neck is it's reset. You get to keep the full height over here, and you'll have a fresh neck reset, which will probably not need to be done again. So you got two options here. Cleaning up the bridge is going to cost about $75 by the time all is said and done. Doing the neck reset is going to cost $300, but it's going to give, you're going to have a new saddle along with that. So those are options, okay? There's a couple ways to approach this thing, and those are the options that I'm laying out for the customer here. So let's keep looking at the guitar here. I need to know what's inside of it. First of all, there's a pickup wire hanging here. What kind of pickup do we have here? And we're going to get a mirror and my flashlight. Take a look inside it. It's an undersaddled pickup. I hate undersaddled pickups. And it's got wires and clips and everything running around in there. I'm going to recommend, I think he wants me to remove the pickup. If he wants me to keep a pickup, then I'm going to recommend a K&K, because a K&K will go on the bridge plate and it will not affect the saddle. I just hate putting a bone saddle on top of a undersaddled pickup. To me, it just ruins the whole purpose of the bone saddle. The bone saddle is supposed to sit on the ebony, make a nice, tight, bright connection, and then when you put this metallic cardboard sandwich in between it, I don't like that. I don't like the sound of undersaddled pickups. I don't like the fact that we've got these cables, these batteries, and all this junk running around inside the guitar, which can rattle, adds weight, blah, blah, blah. If you want to keep the pickup, I want a K&K on the bridge plate. So I'm going to recommend remove that. The other thing I noticed when I was in there, this is the 41. 41 and 42 vary a little bit as to whether they're scalloped or not. This one is scalloped, but This is the X brace here. The scalloping stops about 1.5 inches away from the X, and then the scalloping comes out down into here. That does two things. First of all, it puts a little bit more stress on this part of the top. These kind of guitars can get a belly back here. It gives it a little bit more of a mid-range and a treble sound because this is the unscalloped portion. So depending on what the customer wants, what kind of sound he wants, I might recommend finishing the scallop and bringing it all the way up to the X brace, which I can do. I scallop off this little section here and blend it into the other one, and then we have more of a GE and more of an authentic type bracing. That's just an option, depends on what kind of sound. Nobody says, what's the best sound? I don't know what the best sound is. What kind of sound do you want out of this thing? I don't mind, this kind of bracing, but if you want a fuller, richer, bassier sound, you can get it by scalloping that X brace out. When I have this apart, when I have the strings off of it, I will check the back braces. Rosewood guitars, especially because it came from Guam, which is very humid, the back braces tend to get loose. So I will take a little spatula like this, and I'll push it up under all the braces, and I will see if they're tight. I bet you I'm going to find some loose back braces in here. I consider there to be 8 back braces. There's 4 braces, but the center strip runs here, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think of it as 8 sections of brace. I have found all 8 of those to be loose, where the brace was only held together in the center. So you can't tell by looking a lot of times. You got a probe in there. The other thing is this must be a 90s because it's got tall back braces over here. Martin did that because they were having trouble with wood cracking, but it's not the old way to do it. It gives a very consistent sound over the back right here. If you get a little hammer like this, that's a consistent sound. A guitar that has lower back braces, any guitar before, any Martin before 1994, you tap that again, it'll go pop, pop, woof, woof. And these two right here will have a much deeper tone than this area. It gives you a variety of tone rather than that consistent tapping sound that we just heard. So one of my most popular hop-ups is to shave the rear 2 back braces back down to the pre-90 side. It gives the guitar a more complex, deeper, woofier sound, and you can feel it when you're playing the guitar. You can feel it kick you in the ribs. Bam, bam, the bass will hit you there, which is fun. It feels good. When you feel that feedback, you tend to play better. I do. You might not. So there's the braces. That's what we got. Here's some options on the braces. It's got a popsicle brace. I like to remove the popsicle brace if the customer wants to do that. It lets the upper bout vibrate. It gives it a high-end frequency tone. It's just a nice, pleasant tone. It's an option if you want to get the best sound out of your guitar. This guitar has an L-shaped truss rod cover in it, so there's a truss rod cover. There's a neck block. The truss rod cover goes up here, and it's glued to the top right here. I like that. I feel like it offers a little bit of protection from the neck block tilting, which is what causes the popsicle brace crack. So I leave that cover alone, but I remove the popsicle brace on the edges of it. If he does the tuners and puts lightweight tuners on there, then you're really going to see some gains from having a lightweight tuner on there and the popsicle brace gone. That makes the whole upper section of the guitar livelier. When you remove weight off of the headstock, it makes the neck stiffer. A stiffer neck should, theoretically, seems to make the upper bout vibrate more. I know that when I put lighter tuners on here, I can feel the neck vibrating more. I feel it in my hands. So again, that's a tactile thing that I like as a player. I like to feel that neck vibrating. I don't want a dead neck. It's amazing how much sound you pick up from the bones in your hand, from your teeth, stuff like that. And I just like the guitar that vibrates. I feel it better. It responds. I like that. So that's why I like lighter tuners, aside from the fact that it makes the guitar balance better. Right now the guitar wants to fall down to the headstock because of the weight. You get some lighter tuners on there. The weight of the tuners is probably about 6 ounces. It's not, I mean, it's not a massive deal, but you got to remember it's on the end of a 2-foot stick here. So you've got all the leverage factor going on. You put lighter tuners on there and you can feel it. The guitar balances down here in the sound hole rather than out on the neck. So you get a better balance, you get a stiffer neck, it looks better. Stiffer neck will help the upper bout. If you pull the popsicle brace out, then you get a little bit more sound right there. Once again, I'm only telling the customer this in case you want to get everything out of the guitar that you can. Without, you know, there's just really not any drawbacks to it except it costs money. Everything that I do costs money. So how much money, you know? I'm fine if you don't want to take a popsicle brace out. I'm fine with that. You don't want to do tuners, I'm fine. You know, it's got a plastic nut. I want to replace the nut, especially if I do frets. Because when I get the frets off, I'm going to level the fingerboard. I'm going to make sure everything's, you know, nice right there. New frets on there. Nice playing surface. I don't sand it very much, but if there's any ripples or anything funky going on there, I'll take care of that. It's got the old style pixelated pickguard on it. Pepperoni pickguard. I would love to replace that pickguard with something that looks good. Okay? If I do a neck reset, if I do the bridge, if I do anything, it's going to get a bone saddle. It's going to get that pickup out of there. It's going to get probably new bridge pins. These are the stock pins. They're plastic. They're slotted. I don't like the looks of abalone on white because you can't see the abalone. Look at the abalone up here on the fingerboard. It's abalone against black, and it really pops. I would prefer to see ebony non-slotted bridge pins in here. So ebony pins with an abalone dot would make that abalone pop out, and it would also match the fingerboard so that it would look good. I just don't like that washed out look of abalone on white. Normally I try to match the pins to the binding, but in this case on the 40s series I really prefer the look of a ebony non-slotted abalone dot pin, and I will slot the bridge. Various reasons for that too. Okay, the last thing I'm going to look at here is I noticed looking at the back that the binding is loose right here. So I want to know, will that binding push back on or has it actually shrunk? And if I use my fingers to push it back on, yeah, it goes back pretty good. So probably what's happened here is it's probably rubbed against somebody's body. Humidity might have made it loose or something. But it's pushing down really nice right there. I would use, if you look at it, I can see a little bit of wood still stuck to the binding. So I'm just going to use a regular old LMI instrument glue, wood glue, and it will stick to the wood that's on the binding and glue it back down. It's easy to work with, easy cleanup, doesn't smell. You can use super glue for that, but super glue is unforgiving. And when you put, what I'll do is I'll put some glue in here and smear it in there. And first of all, I've got 10 minutes to work with it. I'll use a tape, and I'll take that tape and I'll bind it up. If any glue comes up under the tape, it's no big deal. It'll wash up with soap and water. I'm sorry, just hot water. But if you use super glue and you pull it in, the glue squeezes out. It gets all over the top, and it can be a mess. And you got to clean it up and all this stuff. The instrument glue will do a perfectly good job of gluing that binding on because there's still some wood stuck to it. Alright, so that's the guitar. That's what I do every time I look at a guitar. So again, I'm going to look at the tuners, I'm going to look at the nut, I'm going to look at the frets, I'm going to look at the relief, I'm going to look at the action, I'm going to look at the saddle location, I'm going to look at the bridge, I'm going to look then at the general guitar. No cracks on the body or the top. That's great. It's in good shape. Customer wanted me to do an A-B playing test of the guitar. I am going to do some modifications. He wants to see what it's like before and after. I normally don't do that because the guitars are so hard to play. They're coming in for problems. But we're going to do it. Okay, so let's see if we're in tune because I've been messing with it a little bit. It's always fun to do. There we go. The action's a little high. It's going to be a little bit hard to get perfectly in tune. Let's see what does it sound like. It already plays like a truck. I mean, I can tell you that. The action's high and stiff and let's move my microphone over here. More like where it would be when I'm doing it the regular way. There we go. Now let's do it. You know, that just doesn't pop. On my other guitars, that note just, I can make that note pop, and here it's just kind of lost. So. Well, there you go. You know, my impressions of playing it sounds pretty good for a stock Martin. It doesn't have the punch, doesn't have the clarity, doesn't have the separation of tone that I am used to hearing from a guitar. It definitely doesn't play good. It plays very stiff at this high action to me. It's workable, you know. I can get by, but it is not comfortable to play. And so, yeah, that's what I'm hearing as I'm sitting here playing it. Not bad, but it can be a lot better. It can have a lot more snap, punch, mid-range, tone, everything. So let's see what we get. Okay, I got to get to work on it. Send this off to the customer, see what he wants me to do with it. So, bye-bye.